Thank you for tuning in to Help for HDTV. We have Laura back with us today, and today we are going to do a show on loneliness, which isn't talked about very often. Laura, if you can just tell us, first of all, during your testing process for HD, did you feel lonely through that process, and why and where you felt the most loneliness through that specific time in your life?
At that time in my life, I had a 1-year-old son and my marriage was failing. So although I had a lot of support, and even my parents, actually, we had built a house when I got married. We built a house and my parents lived in an in-law apartment downstairs. My father was still with us and still living with us. I did not want him to know that he passed away not knowing. It would have killed him. But I did still struggle with loneliness because my marriage was not working at the same time. Although even our divorce was very friendly. To this day, my ex-husband is very supportive, but I still did feel, I think I felt a lot less loneliness than a lot of other patients though, because I still had the support system of my ex-husband there. It was just an added stress that we were in the process of talking about breaking up or separating anyway. That's why I decided to test. And obviously when the results came back that I had it, it's still something that he couldn't understand anyway. Even I think anybody would have loneliness because, and you're not, most of our partners are obviously didn't come from the HD community and wouldn't completely understand what it's like to go through that. That was definitely an issue that I had.
Yeah. And you mentioned your boy at that time, he was 1, and now he's much older. And I know that you guys are very close because you've talked to us about that previously. But with him being older, has that created any loneliness? And like, how is it different now that he's older versus when he was much younger?
He doesn't need his mommy as much anymore. The little guy who ran around and needed me for absolutely everything. It suddenly you notice one day, I would say he went through his early teen. I didn't like that. I didn't like that part at all. The early teen years were a little bit rough, but then suddenly he's got like upper arm hair and he's busy on Friday night. I'm like, oh, okay, good for you. That's good. But I try to encourage him to do his thing. Actually, he's working at a grocery store and having a hard time getting hours. I went to the same grocery store chain near my house the other day, and I had to wait in line because they had nobody to work. I was talking to the store manager and said, oh, I should have my son come and work over here instead. And he's, oh my God, we could give him so many hours. And I was like, yeah, and he can be near his mommy, things like that. My son, I can joke around with him when I am missing him and things like that. He's old enough now that he'll pick up on it. I think this age is a fun age now. Who knows what happens when he graduates? He's 17, so in a year he could graduate, decide to go to college or move away. I don't know how that's gonna go, so we'll see.
And I think, yes, we're talking about HD and we're talking about situations that people have to go through, right? Like on our TV show, that's what we do a lot of. But this is such a familiar feeling, like across the board with kids getting older and like figuring out your place and your purpose and your what nows. So it's relatable, but I can see how just the way life has gone for you as far as like your connection to your son and stuff like that, how him getting older can definitely be a life changer. So
For
thanks
me,
for
a little
sharing.
bit too with him, I also was one of the first people in my friend group to have a child. They're still gonna have little kids at home.
Yeah.
So
Sure.
that might be something I have to plan for a little bit too, or make a point to make some more friends that don't have younger children.
I know you said this on your last show, but as far as people in your family that have Huntington's disease,
My father had it.
right?
And he inherited it from his father. My father was one of 8 so far, it appears. My father was the only one that got it. So there's my sister and I. My sister has not tested. I feel like she would probably show symptoms by now. I feel like she's in the clear. It could be just me being positive thinking, but if my sister doesn't have it, it could possibly end with me if my son doesn't get it. If my son gets it, then depending on his family choices, we'll see. I'm hoping it ends with me, and that's that.
Sure.
That would be the best possible gift. Sometimes I think about secretly kidnapping them and taking their DNA and then keeping it in my head only if they have it, but I can't do that.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, so that was just leading me to my next question. So as of right now, the only person, because your father passed away, so out of all your cousins and aunts and everything, you're the only one right now with Huntington's. Does that sometimes make you feel alone, or are you like?
Yes, in fact, I would like to tell you something about that right now. I need my TVs hung up on the wall. I have a cousin, first cousin, super close. Hope he watches it. Not as close the past few years though. A lot of people helped me out as far as this apartment. I needed a bunch of new things. I had a TV that somebody gave me that needed a part 8 years ago, so it was falling apart. One of my uncles basically bought me a TV, and so I went for the giant one. And I have a cousin who owns a company. He does audio video stuff. I just assumed maybe I would send him a text or send him a message and he would come over and help me. And it's frustrating because I can't do it myself. And I went to the fire academy. I can start generators at work. I like to say I'm more of a tomboy. I just don't have the strength to drill the holes in the walls for these things. And I need someone to just, Anthony can help me pick it up and put it on the wall, but it makes me feel lonely that someone I used to be so close with, in a way, I'm like, hey guys, I'm taking it for the team here. You think maybe you could just do this one solid for me? Because I don't ever ask for anything. And in turn, it really hurt my feelings. And I also have a relative on the other side of the family. And when I was going through this, one of my friends started a GoFundMe, and it was actually really helpful. I was able to pay my first month rent with it. But my aunt, my mother's half sister, wrote something on the Facebook post about my kid doesn't need to have his own room at my house because he's not with me all the time. And I'm not sick, and I don't know why you're doing this, talking about being sick and all this crap. You don't need people helping you like that. I'm like, I haven't talked to this person in several years, but it was somebody that I very much cared about and was close to. She was always like, she reminded me of me. She was a little loud. Sometimes she swears. And now I'm like, good luck if I ever talk to you again. And I just, where did that come from? And that the silly TV thing, I'm halfway joking about, but that hurt. And I don't know where it came from. And my initial response, I'm surprised that my initial response to it was sadness as opposed to anger, which shows I'm either growing up or well medicated. I'm not sure.
Maybe both. Maybe. I'm sorry about that. It's really hard, and it's a common thread with HD families that like there's some people who are like in your face, on board, let's do this. And then there are some that are out of sight, out of mind. And there are some that are like, we're not talking about HD. It's so interesting
Because I
how
look okay, I might come across okay on Facebook, or I might come across Crazy Laura, the person that you knew your whole life on Facebook still. But I'm also making sure I'm taking a medication so I don't have tremors right now. You don't see it, but I have major medical problems. And if you can't understand that, sayonara.
yeah.
And somebody's getting a link to this video too.
So you've talked openly with Katie and I'm sure others about being a single lady. Can you maybe talk a little bit about how dating in HD's been going, or if you feel more lonely being single, I guess technically, if you're without a partner, that may cause loneliness on its own.
Sure. I think number one is not having a partner. I hate it. I want a partner. Who doesn't want a buddy to go through life with? I have been single for a long time. I was divorced in 2013, but we were separated for several years before that. So I I've been wanting a partner for a long time. Realistically, do I think it's going to happen for me? I don't know. I don't think so. I think partly because I do keep people at a distance because I don't want to be hurt. I don't want to go through, I don't want to go through getting dumped because I'm dying. I don't know if I can say that I honestly would date a guy in my position. So how could I expect somebody to date me? I have found myself having more of a long-term kind of friendship, someone to go out with, tell me I'm pretty, give me a smooch every once in a while. That's kind of the relationship that I had for a while. And just because of life, really haven't had that in about a year or so. Still have an awesome friend in that person, but it's made me think maybe I want to give my, if not even to date, maybe just I need to get out there a little bit. I go back and forth with whether I want to hang up the Tinder account or something. And I don't know why I have it. I barely use it. The people, when I have dated, I think the last time I dated was like right before the pandemic. I happened to date like in 2020 and in 2021. I met someone in January, two different people, and I knew it wasn't going to work. They had younger children, but they were just so awesome and fun, and we had a blast. And it was several months, and both people are still in my life. So I couldn't ask for better than that. I've never had a problem as far as dating goes with anybody being awful to me, anybody breaking my heart. So I call my love life a win, and it might not be at the end of the day, but it works for me. It's worked for me so far. I'm not exactly sure what the future holds for me, but I've lost a little weight, so maybe I'll give it a try, maybe not, but I'm sure pretty sure that no matter what, if I need to, I can find somebody to tell me I'm pretty and smooch me.
I love it. I love your attitude. Thank you.
I have a question when you talked about dating, because I'm just curious, because like I've heard a lot of different things where people do. When you first start dating someone, are you pretty open right off the bat about Huntington's disease, or do you wait, or what have you done in the past?
I've done all of the above. More recently, I have put it out there very forward. They're the last two people I had dated. I might have met them through an app or something, but I won't go out with somebody unless they have like a friend of a friend in common with me, just because I don't want to end up floating in the river. But I've put it out there somewhat early. Part of me wonders if that's a defense mechanism too, but also I don't want to waste people's time. I've tried waiting until later. I've also tried giving it a little mentioning that I inherited the gene for the disease early in the relationship, and then waiting a little while to really get into it. I can't say like anything has particularly worked for me. I guess I just feel out the situation, but I find myself wanting to put it out there. I feel now faster rather than waiting and dragging things out. I don't want people to waste my time as far as dating goes. I don't want I don't want to date people that are married. I don't want to date people that have a ton of baggage. And like I said, I don't think I would date someone with this baggage, and that's okay, but I just want to be told right up front. And I think if I'm upfront with people, they'll respect that. And at the end of the day, I usually would make a friend with someone no matter what. So
Yeah.
I really don't have any advice as to what I think would work better on that. I'm
Well,
so
final question, because I threw mine at, I did a loop, but so when you're in a room full of people, sometimes do you feel alone?
depends on the room full of people. If it is, for instance, at an HD event, no. But I do sometimes, especially as much as I love my family at a family event, sometimes if I'm, for instance, struggling, I want to go home, or I'm just not feeling great, I do feel a little bit alone in that. It's not so easy for them to understand. As far as being in public, I find myself a lot more, I guess I would put it as realizing how silly some people's, I don't want to put down what people, the seriousness of people's own issues. If somebody thinks something is important to them, it should be. But I find myself overhearing a conversation in public and sometimes just thinking like, I wish I had your problems. If that's the only problem you have, that's pretty good. But I guess in a way, I think a little bit abnormally because of HD. I do feel some loneliness in situations like that, or even in a situation that I'm out with my family and I see a happy couple or something like that, and I don't have that. I definitely feel loneliness at that time, but I'm usually able to get myself out of it. I'm optimistic to the point where it's probably borderline mentally ill, but that's what I have to do to get by. So I do.
Girl, you just made me think is when I was a hairdresser before I did like nonprofit work. And I would sit in behind the chair and hear women just complain about their husbands. They're not working, not making enough money to pay the bills, and I have to do this. And I would just sit there and I'd be like, oh man, I wish my husband wasn't dying.
Yep.
Oh,
Yes, that's it. Must be nice to have a husband, woman. What happens when you need to put a TV on the wall? You have your husband do it. Right. Okay. And the thing that's hard for me sometimes too is I have a lot of guy friends and I get upset if they're not happy, or if they're not treated well by their wife, or if they're living in a miserable situation. Honestly, that makes me feel lonely. I feel lonely for my friend. I feel lonely for myself again. And I feel like my friend is wasting time in a cycle of being miserable when they could be enjoying their health. Why aren't they enjoying their health?
Yeah.
I'm talking to you. I'm going to send him this.
yeah. Well, anything to leave us with?
I think just to keep the tools around you that you need to get yourself out of feeling lonely. If you need to be around people, if you need to call friends and just say, hey, listen, I'm in the bad place. I say that all the time. I'm in the bad place. I'm in the bad place. That's my reaching out for help. And even if they can't be there right then, they know there's something going on with me. They check on me. I think that helps a lot. And we all have, is it music? Do you need to put on Rihanna and shake your booty in the living room? Then do it. That's what you need to do to get yourself feeling better, because your mental health is the most important thing.
Good advice.
Yep. A good note to leave you guys on. I think that will do it for today, but we will have Laura back like we promised the last time. We brought her back again, and she will keep doing shows with us, we hope. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel below and ring the bell for notifications when more videos like this come out. Until next time.